The story unfolds in Miami, where Mike, one of the famous bad boys, is racing through the streets in his Porsche 911 Turbo, frustrated by his friend Marcus for making them late. During a quick stop, Mike hands Marcus some money to buy food at a nearby store. Marcus, easily distracted by the items on display, is particularly drawn to a sausage when a thief bursts in to rob the place. Marcus tries to warn the thief to rethink his actions, suggesting that someone dangerous might arrive soon, but the thief, focused solely on his plan, is undeterred. Just then, Mike shows up, urging Marcus to return to the car and blaming him for their delay. Before they leave, Marcus distracts the thief long enough for Mike to take control of the situation, allowing them to neutralize the threat and advise the store manager to call 911. Later, Mike marries Kristen, his former physical therapist, in a heartfelt ceremony where Kristen expresses her deep pride in Mike and her unwavering support. The wedding is followed by a lively celebration. During the reception, Marcus delivers a speech in honor of their late Captain Conrad Howard, who is represented at the event by his daughter Judy and granddaughter C. She shares memories of her grandfather's fondness for Mike and Marcus, saying that he would have encouraged them to continue their antics. The group then toasts to the newlyweds. In the middle of the festivities, Marcus suddenly falls ill and suffers a heart attack. As Mike desperately seeks help, Marcus has an out-of-body experience, reliving important moments from his life. He encounters Captain Howard on an astral plane, who tells him it's not his time to die. Revived by this encounter, Marcus wakes up in the hospital, relieved to be alive. He sneaks out and heads to the hospital roof, where Mike finds him. Marcus recounts his near-death experience, describing a peaceful feeling of freedom. A nurse arrives to check on Marcus, but he assures her he's fine, and she leaves satisfied. Marcus then warns Mike of an upcoming challenge that will test him and reminds him to hold on to his goodness. Meanwhile, a man named James McGrath, acting under the name of the late Conrad Howard, makes a wire transfer using the credentials of a man he has just killed. As time passes, Marcus and Mike are seen driving together. Marcus reassures his wife, Teresa, over the phone that he's fine despite his recent health scare, expressing his eagerness to be with her. After the call, Marcus and Mike reflect on their long-lasting friendship, with Marcus jokingly declaring that they are soulmates, though he claims his soul is superior. Later, the duo reunites with their wives at their destination. Mike shares with Teresa that, after his brush with death, Marcus had climbed naked onto the hospital roof and raved. Meanwhile, Marcus confronts his son-in-law, Reggie, about eating his candy, only to find out that Teresa had thrown it away on medical advice. That night, Mike has a disturbing dream about his past and his son Armando, but he brushes it off and continues sleeping. The next morning, while working out, Mike receives a troubling call alleging that Captain Conrad Howard was involved in cartel corruption. Outraged and convinced of the captain's innocence, Mike refuses to believe the accusations. Judy, Howard's daughter, makes a personal attack, blaming Mike's son, Armando, for her father's death and vowing to kill him if she finds him. Determined to uncover the truth, the bad boys interrogate a prisoner, who turns out to be Armando. He reveals that Howard was investigating the cartel and was betrayed by his own colleagues. Armando recalls seeing the real culprit once, though he doesn't know his name, and mentions that his mother had contact with him. Meanwhile, James McGrath, aware that Howard was investigating his operation, tries to cover his tracks. When the bad boys finally gain access to Howard's laptop, they trigger an automatic message from the captain, warning them that they are in grave danger. The situation escalates when the bad boys uncover the presence of dangerous traitors. As they plan their next move, Marcus, in a reckless moment, walks backward into traffic, causing chaos. An elderly woman yells at them to call the police, to which they ironically respond that they are the police. Later, they arrive at an event to question Fletcher, a man mentioned by Howard. Fletcher arrogantly mocks them, claiming to be a genius who has turned Conrad's vital information into something indestructible. In a shocking turn, Marcus accidentally shoots and kills Fletcher, insisting it was unintentional, though it was actually one of the villain's men who finished him off to prevent him from revealing more. This triggers a chaotic gunfight. During the shootout, Marcus, distracted by candy and soda, is forced out of his hiding spot, leading Mike to join him in a frantic shootout, all under the watchful eyes of their enemies. Determined to fight crime, Marcus chases a suspect, while Mike, after a mishap with his gun, freezes in fear as a car races toward him. Fortunately, Marcus saves him just in time. Later, while discussing the situation, Rita senses that Mike is withholding the full truth, something Marcus inadvertently confirms. Agent Bourne informs them that surveillance cameras within a 2-block radius have been disabled, raising their suspicions. Marcus, relieved, jokes that at least his panic attack wasn't recorded. A female officer finds an old recording of Conrad Howard, revealing the existence of corrupt officers working with the cartel. Howard mentions an unrecorded warehouse where crucial files are stored that could expose these corrupt officers. He implores that this task be done for him, as they are his only hope. The scene shifts to a prison, where Armando, previously interrogated by the bad boys, is quietly working out until a group of prisoners suddenly attacks him. Armando fights back, and as the situation escalates, tear gas canisters are thrown to disperse the fight. Mike defends Armando, convinced that he can help identify the traitor, and proposes transporting him to a prison in Miami to show him photographs and possibly identify the culprit. During the ride with Armando, the bad boys turn in their guns and prepare for the 45-minute journey. In a light moment, Marcus jokes about a past life where Mike was a donkey and he was the frustrated owner. The situation becomes more complicated when they discover that enemies have infiltrated the transport, making the pilot believe that Armando escaped with the help of the police and that they are trying to hijack the transport. In the presence of their enemies, the boys retrieve their weapons and fight for their lives and Armando's. After an intense battle, they manage to save Armando from falling from the cell in which he was traveling, finally landing in a lake. In the midst of the confusion, Mike informs Armando that Howard left files that could reveal who is behind the corruption. Armando offers his help but advises them to ditch their phones and follow him, as they are now in his territory, and he will take the lead. Later, Judy reports that there are 3 suspects after listening to a recording in which the captain claims that the prisoner escaped with the help of the cops. Rita expresses her disbelief, arguing that she knows the people involved well and it can't be true. However, Judy is convinced by the audio, especially since Mike is determined to free his son from prison, leading to them being declared fugitives. James McGrath, the traitor, then orders all the gangs in the city to place a $5 million bounty on their capture. The fugitives, hiding in the woods, light a campfire and find an opportunity to talk. Marcus suggests to Mike that he should talk to his son, and Mike, repentant, apologizes to Armando, believing that he has passed on his bad luck. Armando replies that bad luck can happen to anyone. The next day, in search of clothes, they assault some men who were camping. When caught, they try to convince the campers that they were wrongfully accused because of their skin color, but the campers aren't fooled and demand they sing a song by an artist whose name appears on the clothing to prove ownership. While they struggle to improvise a song, Armando seizes the opportunity to start a car and escape. Once safe, Armando confronts Mike, asking if he really loved his mother. Mike admits that he did, but Armando responds with resentment. The tension rises, and Marcus, trying to lighten the mood, only makes things worse. To make matters worse, the car breaks down, forcing them to continue on foot. Meanwhile, Judy receives a report identifying the fugitives. When they reunite with other acquaintances, Kelly and her boyfriend, the situation becomes more complicated as Kelly trusts Mike but not Armando. Marcus observes the tension while eating Doritos. After a long discussion, they decide to stay and start investigating, looking for files to see if Armando can identify the traitor. After hours of searching, they finally identify James McGrath as the traitor. Now Mike and Marcus can finally know who has been behind everything. With this revelation, they realize they are up against a vast network of corruption led by McGrath. The bad boys, led by Mike, make a crucial decision. Understanding the gravity of the situation and armed with incriminating evidence against McGrath, they decide that the best strategy is to turn themselves into the authorities to expose the conspiracy. Mike takes the initiative and calls Rita to inform her about their decision to turn themselves in, explaining that they have enough evidence to dismantle McGrath's corrupt network. At that delicate moment, Rita is with her boyfriend, who, after overhearing the conversation, questions her about her feelings for him, revealing her possible connection to the corrupt network. This unexpected twist suggests that the boyfriend may be involved with McGrath's group, especially when it is revealed that McGrath was already informed that the bad boys possess compromising documents. Realizing his position is threatened, gives precise instructions to his subordinates to imitate cartel hitmen and take hostages. Their plan includes a dramatic assault on Mike and Marcus's residences, aiming to intimidate and possibly capture their main obstacles. Marcus, however, is alerted to the impending invasion and takes swift action to ensure his family's safety. He communicates with his son-in-law, Reggie, giving him clear instructions to move the family to safety. Once he confirms that his family is protected, Marcus prepares to confront the invaders. In a display of bravery and tactical skill, he manages to neutralize 12 attackers decisively, all under Mike's stunned observation. Simultaneously, elsewhere, she seeks out Christine to inform her that her mother is desperately searching for Mike. Kristen, incredulous and confused by the mounting tension, answers a call from Mike at the worst possible moment, just as McGrath's men burst onto the scene. This incident results in both her and Christine being taken hostage. McGrath seizes the opportunity to contact Mike, demanding that he hand over his armed son in exchange for Christine and C's safety. Despite the threat, Mike decides to resist and fight back. They soon discover that Rita's husband, who had been an ally, is actually a traitor leaking information to McGrath. This revelation comes when they realize that only Rita knew the details of Mike's plan to turn himself in, and that McGrath was unusually well informed. Confronted with the betrayal, Mike communicates the situation to Rita, who, horrified and betrayed, begins to act differently. She suggests going to the police station to resolve the matter. However, her husband follows her, and in a tense confrontation inside an elevator, he tries to attack her. Fortunately, Rita's colleagues arrive just in time to intervene, rescuing her and arresting her treacherous husband. After the incident, Rita and Mike reaffirm the importance of trust and loyalty within their team. Rita confronts her husband, who attempts to justify his actions by claiming he was manipulated by McGrath and acted under pressure. Despite his explanations, Rita, filled with fury, silences him and focuses on the task at hand, ensuring the safety of all involved. In a last-ditch effort to fool McGrath and buy time, Mike changes his voice during a phone call with McGrath's men, tricking them into thinking they plan to move the hostages out of the country. During this conversation, Christine confronts McGrath about a visible injury to his hand. McGrath reveals that he suffered a Colombian manicure, a method of torture that inflicts extreme pain without causing death. He also threatens to kill Mike in front of her, to which Christine coldly replies that he doesn't really know her husband. The bad boys, led by Mike, set in motion an intricate plan to rescue the kidnapped girls, ingeniously using Rita's ex-boyfriend to trick McGrath's men. They sternly warn him that any attempt to alert his henchmen would result in his death within 24 seconds. With the plan in action, the group arrives at an amusement park, a place that, according to urban legends they have researched online, is still home to the elusive lizard dog. Upon arrival, they watch as McGrath's men meticulously coordinate the hostages' transport by helicopter. At that crucial moment, they discover the presence of a lizard dog on the scene, revealing that Armando has bravely infiltrated the area and is now in a compromising position. The situation becomes tense as everyone waits expectantly for Mike to take the initiative and shoot James McGrath. However, in an unexpected twist, Mike claims not to have his gun. Although he does, he is incapacitated by a severe panic attack. With Armando now dangerously exposed, an intense gunfight ensues. Mike, still paralyzed by panic, is unable to react, prompting Marcus to intervene, shouting firmly at him that this is no time to give in to fear. He tries to snap Mike out of his state, momentarily inspiring him with the memory of the captain, who assures him that none of this is his fault. Mike tries to pull himself together, but Marcus interrupts him with an energetic slap, bringing him back to reality, and motivating him to confront the enemies. In a thrilling turn of events, Police Agent Bourne launches an aerial strategy, using several drones to drop small bombs on the enemies, providing a crucial tactical advantage. Armando and the bad boys seize this opportunity to move forward and try to rescue Christine and C. At the climax of the confrontation, when Mike finally comes face to face with McGrath, a grenade unexpectedly detonates. At the same time, Rita arrives just in time to lend help and realizes that her ex-boyfriend, implicated in the plot, is still alive. Determined to face the consequences of her past relationship, Rita decides to take care of him personally. Despite the epic struggle that unfolds, Armando manages to rescue C. In a dramatic turn of events, James McGrath seizes Kristen amid the chaos. Mike finds himself trapped, while Marcus, trying to help, accidentally shatters a glass near a baby lizard. Marcus falls into the water, but Mike manages to stay dry. Marcus, fully trusting the universe, tries to calm the lizard by asking for love and peace. Instead, the lizard bites his arm aggressively. Mike rushes in to help Marcus, showcasing the unwavering solidarity and bravery that defines the bad boys. Armando, sent by Mike, reassures Callie to trust him as they attempt to escape. They are intercepted by enemies who severely beat Armando. Despite this, Armando shows impressive resilience and overcomes his attackers. When CI is close to safety, she realizes Armando needs help and returns to assist him. They manage to evade danger, but in the process, they leave behind a bracelet marked "Best Friends." Meanwhile, Rita confronts the traitor responsible for compromising their mission and delivers poetic justice by handing him over to the hungry lizard. Shortly after, Judy Howard finds Callie's bracelet. At the same time, Marcus arrives at a familiar beach, the site of his near-death experience, where he unexpectedly encounters McGrath, who threatens him with a gun. At this critical moment, Mike arrives and faces a harrowing choice: decide who will die. Drawing on a wise man's prediction, Mike, believing it's not his time to die, shoots McGrath multiple times, neutralizing him but inadvertently wounding Marcus's shoulder. Elsewhere, Judy Howard attempts to shoot Armando, but CI bravely intervenes, standing in front of him and explaining how Armando saved her. Mike arrives just in time to clarify the situation, leading Judy to recognize the bravery and sacrifice made for her daughter. Grateful, she allows them to leave before reinforcements arrive. Mike gives her son heartfelt advice, urging him to live an honest and good life. With the truth about McGrath revealed, Mike and Marcus are cleared of all charges and no longer considered fugitives, though the search for Armando continues. In the following days, the team gathers in a public park for a casual lunch. Marcus claims the title of grill master, while Mike also insists on cooking. Their friendly rivalry is interrupted by Reggie, who wishes to use the grill for his chicken. Initially reluctant to share, Mike and Marcus eventually agree, recalling Reggie's heroic feat of taking on 12 adversaries alone. They let Reggie use the grill, with Mike preparing the potatoes and Marcus setting the table, ending the day on a festive and reconciliatory note.